Do you guys like my Julia cosplay? It's not perfect yet. I need to wear 2 more jackets and not wash my hair for about 2 weeks and be an annoying piece of shit bitch. I'm still working on a couple of those things. Hey, look everybody, it's Kunimitsu. I recently switched from PlayStation to PC, which means that I had to buy this character again just to make this video. Oh, the things I do for you, my sweet lovelies. Namco have so much of my money at this point that if I ever go to Namco HQ, they should be legally required to offer me free blowjobs, which I will gracefully decline. I'm very corona conscious. I just think it would be symbolic and proper of them. I promised that I would make a video talking about my honest feelings on Kunimitsu, and this is it. But first of all, I want to mention why I think this is important to think about right now. The last 2 characters to come out before Kunimitsu were what they were. It's been talked about to death, not least by me, and you probably know exactly how you feel about them at this point. And then the new character, Chin Limo, is coming out, and so Kunimitsu becomes the meat in that sandwich. She is what exists in the ether between the end of Season 3 and the end of Season 4. And so how you feel about her is an indication of how you feel about balance in Tekken these days. Do you think that Namco managed to course correct after Leroy and Fakum Ram, or do you feel like she is more of the same? If you think she's more of the same, then you should definitely assume that the new character will be more of the same as well. I was going to call this video something very YouTubey, like how OP is Kunimitsu or whatever. I just want to dial that back a little bit and have a slightly different angle on it. I mean, many of you out there don't think that this character is super powerful at all. Maybe I'll talk about how I feel at the end of this video. But the angle I want to use is this, because I think this is something that everybody can relate to. Why does it feel so extremely exhausting to play against Kunimitsu? Like, all my friends, the people I talk to, even the ones who use the character, like when you play against this character, it's with an elevated heart rate. I think you burn like a lot of calories trying to keep up with Kunimitsu. Why is it so extremely exhausting to try and contend with her? Let's talk a little bit about it. One thing that I realized when I was thinking about this is like, okay, if you mention Fakum Ram, I think his strongest aspect, now that we've had him for so long, is that whenever Fakum Ram attacks you, he has such good range on all of his fast poking attacks and strings that he will, on block, put you at his exact preferred range, the range where he can hit you with all of his fast attacks, but you can't really reach him. And so when you keep attacking and doing strings with Fakum Ram, it's not a question of whether or not you're going to deal damage or take damage. It's just, are you going to get blocked, are you going to hit, or are you going to score counter hits? And you can just kind of keep going. I know this is simplified, but I think that's like the big issue with that character in hindsight. Well, thinking about Kunimitsu, ask yourself the question, what is her preferred range? At what range is this character the strongest? And I think I want to start out here and talk a little bit about her projectile, which is a very interesting move, right? Now, in one of my earlier videos on the character, I mentioned that the way you want to strategize against Kunimitsu when she's throwing the dagger, or even when she's not, which is kind of the problem, we'll get to it, is that you want to block this projectile, which is how it's different from Noctis's version. With Noctis, if you can sidestep it, then you get an opportunity to whiff punish. If you block it, all you get really is a mix-up. With Kunimitsu, they did it slightly differently. I think it was interesting at first, but I'm realizing now the kinds of problems that it creates. Because with Kunimitsu, the move is punishable, which means that the opponent should try and stand there and block it and then collect, you know, a 10 or 11 frame punish when Kunimitsu teleports in. Well, think about what that means for the opponent. When you're out here playing a normal game of Tekken, especially against a projectile character, something that you're definitely doing, especially if the opponent's going to be attacking, is moving sideways, because that allows you to evade so many powerful options. Think about characters like Huarong. If you're not sidestepping or walking him on the approach, then you're going to lose, because he can just keep doing running moves and Peacekeeper and whatever, you know? So you're moving sideways. Well, with Kunimitsu, you're actually incentivized to, even when you're completely disengaged from the opponent, actually stand still and do not anything in case she's going to throw this dagger. And that's important. It's in case she's going to throw the dagger, even if she's not. not throwing it, you are very aware of the fact that that is an option, which means that even when you're standing this far out and you're completely disengaged from your opponent, you're actually being controlled by that opponent. They are exerting an influence over you. They are manipulating what you're doing in terms of your movement and your strategy. Think about Kazuya. If he's standing this far away from you, he can do keep out electrics to keep you from coming in, try and catch you randomly. And if he's wave dashing up, now you have to worry about hell sweeps and stuff. But for the most part, you can easily react to that. You can adapt on the fly and decide what you want to do. It's not like standing this far away from Kazuya means that you have to constantly worry about what he might do. There's time for you to breathe, to think, to do things of your own. You're not constantly being pressured. And if you think about, obviously, slower projectiles like the fireballs from Akuma and Geese and Eliza, those moves are very different. It doesn't fall into the same category as this dagger at all, because the way those moves work is they are telegraphed, they come out slowly, and then they stay on the screen and occupy space. So they deny space by existing and occupying that space. With Kunimitsu, she's kind of theoretically controlling you by threatening the dagger the whole time. And then when it comes out instantly. So it's very different in that sense. Okay. So out here, the character is extremely powerful. And then, like I said, when the opponent is trying to approach you and do things, it's very important for you to be moving sideways a lot. Well, Kunimitsu has very strong approach tools. She has probably the best stance when it comes to that in the entire game. And she can use that from a spaced out position as well. And I need to talk a little bit about this set 2 right here. I think that this move is actually a strong candidate for the strongest move in the entire game. I know how strong it sounds. I know there are a lot of moves that belong on that list, but honestly, I'm not just pulling it out of my ass. I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I think this might be just the best move in the entire game. It's at least not a completely crazy thing to say, in my opinion, just because of how extremely good. Like the risk-reward ratio on this thing is so extremely skewed. As you know, of course, it's a counter hit launcher, it's completely safe on block, and it's mid. So you can do it. If it works, you win. If it doesn't, no big deal. It also, if you compare it to other sort of approach, dash in and mix up stances in the game, like Moonglide is a very good thing to compare this to, actually, in my opinion, or maybe Harrier from Katarina, stuff like that. You'll realize that this thing is so much faster. I mean, if you delay it a little bit and you want to extend the range, then it's on the slow side, but it can come out extremely quickly. So quickly, in fact, that most of the time when you're applying a mix-up with set, the opponent is not able to react and realize the fact that they are being mixed up. And this is where I want to draw a really clear distinction between this and Moonglide, a stance that I think it's going to get compared to. And I know a lot of people don't like Moonglide and Moonglide mix-ups, and I get it. I apply them a lot because I play Eliza. But here's the difference. When I do Moonglide with Eliza, you cannot react to the low, obviously, or the mid. If you could, then it wouldn't be a mix-up, because you could just deal with it every time by reacting. But what you can react to is the animation of the Moonglide stance. You can see that, and so then you go, okay, my opponent is in stance. He's going to do a mid or a low. I'm being mixed up. It's my turn here, or my time to make a choice. Do I want to try and duck, or do I want to stand, block, or move, or do something else? Well, with set, it's so fast that can't really happen either most of the time, meaning that you're going from absolute zero to eating a mix-up that you didn't even know was happening, you know, in the blink of an eye, which is extremely stressful, because it means that, again, from a spaced out range, from any range where she can find you with any of her set moves, you are constantly under this threat of eating very dangerous mix-ups. This stance is extremely powerful. Of course, the mix-up low, you all know, it's a counter hit launcher as well. She can stay in crouch, she can mix you from crouch, she can go in and like jump into the air, and then she can go into full crouch from there, or do lows. I mean, it's just layers and layers of crazy mix-ups. The stance is extremely good and extremely fast. My personal opinion is that the most important balancing change you could ever make to Kunimitsu is just dramatically increase the amount of frames of animation of set stance so that the opponent has, you know, some sort of toolkit when it comes to reacting to this when she's using it to close the gap. So okay, from a very far up position, she's controlling your positioning and she's making you stand still by threatening the dagger, which means that when she wants to approach you with her extremely powerful stance, you're probably going to stand there and eat the mix-up. It works beautifully in tandem. It's like a high octane, hyper powerful version of what Eliza does with forcing people to step and walk using her fireball and then finding them with her powerful stance homing moves. It's kind of like that, but much, much better, at least as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so far out range, you know, mid range, she's a complete monster. Let's talk about, you know, this kind of range, like range 2. Well, welcome to like the most long range hop kick in the entire game, I think, at least. This thing has extreme range. And another interesting thing about it is that very often when you see it not connect and you want to whiff punish it, the second hit actually has such good range. She flies forward so far that that will actually counter hit and launch your attempted whiff punish, which means that if you mix one hop knee with two hop knees, you've created a lot of sort of artificial plastic safety for yourself with this thing. So it's really amazing. Her other whiff punishers are completely amazing as well. The down 4-2 is great. She has a bunch of great moves in this category, as you know as well. So from a mid-range, she's a complete monster. One of the best, if not the best character in the entire game. And then what about here? Well, if you're standing this close to another range specialist, like maybe Eliza, then, or Noctis, for example, another very similar character to Kunimitsu, then they really start to suffer. Their down forward ones are not good. Their jabs and low pokes are not good overall. With Kunimitsu, not only does she have like amazing fast pokes and mids and, you know, overall stuff, her jab string is just one of the best jab strings ever in the game as well. This 1-1 and its extensions are extremely good. And there isn't that much you can do about them. I played against a Kunimitsu player who was decent yesterday, and he was applying 1-1 so often that I started to try to duck, you know, the first hit of this and then whiff punish from while standing. But the fact that the second hit comes out so fast and is mid makes that extremely difficult to do. Now I know with the jab string extensions, you can deal with this with movement in a lot of ways, and you've probably already written a couple of comments about how you can actually walk the move that I call the most powerful move in the game, potentially the set 2, to your right. And I want to talk a little bit about this briefly. Why this is definitely possible in theory, if you look at people actually playing real matches against one another, even at a high competitive level, it doesn't happen almost at all. It's very rare in my experience. It's just a little bit too difficult to do to be a viable like counter strategy. Most of the time I think you're just standing there and blocking what is happening. It's different from like running to from Dragunov, which is another amazing powerful move that also, you know, it should be on a short list of the most powerful moves in the game, but that thing you can pretty reliably actually walk in step. With set 2, for example, you need to, I mean, you can't already be sidewalking right, then you fail and you get hit. And you can't step on reaction. You have to wait until the opponent is already in the middle of set and then start walking to the right. And remember how I mentioned earlier that the stance is so fast that you can't really react to it. It becomes a problem, right? Okay. So some of the best jab strings in the entire game, really good strong mids as well. Now Fergus did an entire video on the strength of 2-2, the 2-2 string and its extensions. This is extremely powerful, extremely fast, covers so many options. High mid right there again, so I mean you can try and duck her highs, but the mid that is always following them will catch you, and so ducking doesn't become a great idea against the character when she's being aggressive either. And I mean, just watch Fergus's video on this string if you want to know why it's so extremely powerful. It's very good, but it's got counter hit properties. You can mix up the amount of hits that you do. I mean, 58 damage on those 4 hits, and then you can actually do 2 hits into like stance and do crazy extensions. The opponent never knows like what you're going to do. So again, they're kind of incentivized to stand there and block and watch you apply 68 mix-ups per second. I also want to talk a bit about full crouch, right? Because it's such a big, important staple for this character. everybody knows that her full crouch mix-up is amazing. So this move is the main low that you use, and you have the guaranteed follow-up on top of that for really, really good damage. It's so threatening that the opponent is always incentivized to consider ducking when she's down here. And then the midge, I mean, of course she has launchers and stuff, but I honestly think that the craziest move like that she has in her entire like full crouch package is the while standing 1-1. Have a look at this safe 26 damage delayable mid string. I mean, it's so reliable, it's so safe and amazing. This move is so good. I mean, for most characters, when they just want to do like a safe mix up full crouch mid like this, they would just have to go for their while standing 4, which is like this small, very reasonable 15 damage thing. This thing is so much better. 26 damage. Completely crazy as far as I'm concerned. So the full crouch package is insane and easily accessible. The jabs are amazing. The one downside I hear people mention is like not very good lows, but she uses the stone feet, and I think this is honestly more than powerful enough that it's not a real weakness of the character. I think this works. I think it does its job, especially because it synergizes in the sense that it allows you to access full crouch, and you can alternate the number of hits again to always keep the opponent guessing. You know, the opponent always has to like try and react to multiple things. It's never just one thing with Kunimitsu. Oh, she did this move, I'm gonna do this, you know. It's always like, but she could extend it 3 more times, or jump in the air, or teleport, or do, you know, some other craziness. Which means that, I mean, I mentioned in the beginning this feeling of like being exhausted and tired when you're playing against this character. No matter where she is on the screen, she is controlling you. She's manipulating your movement. You can never chill and like know that you're not being mixed up, because she will be on top of you in the blink of an eye whenever she wants to. And when she is doing so many fast hits and is all over the place that it's not like you can just rely on your reaction speed and experience and deal with her that way. It's a constant guessing game that starts the moment the round starts and then never ends. I mentioned Fakum Ram and how he's so strong because he's always able to reset the opponent to his preferred range using his strings and his pokes. Well, I think Kunimitsu has a similar issue that is even more interesting. She doesn't have a range that isn't her optimal range. I think she actually excels. I mean, is better than almost any other character, no matter how far away from you she is. She's a complete monster out here. She dominates Tekken when she has this much space to work with, and when she's on top of you like this, she's completely amazing as well. So nothing but ideal ranges where she excels, which is really interesting and unique. And so I don't want this to be a divisive video that people have to like debate over and dislike, because I know some people love this character and really enjoy playing her, but at the same time, if I can't be like honest about how I feel right here, then, you know, I'm becoming too much of a pussy and I shouldn't be making YouTube videos about the game anyway. So I'm just gonna say that I think that this is definitely more of the same problems we've had with recent DLC characters. I think in some senses, as strong again as it might sound, might be even worse. And that's the reason, while I'm excited for, you know, the new character, she looks like she could be something really special and cool. I'm trying to not be naive about it, you know, because we've been burned many times over. So that's, you know, my honest opinion on this character. Not mentioning, you know, the way she looks or the voice acting or all the rest of it. I wanted to keep that separate from this design, specifically focused on gameplay. So there you go. That's how I feel. And if you want to make these arguments, I've seen them dozens of times. She's not overpowered. She just has very good range. She's not overpowered. She just applies many mix-ups and has strong mix-up game. A strong mix-up game. That's another way of calling a character very good, right? That's at least the way I look at it if I'm trying to be really sober about the character. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on why this character is exhausting to play against and very powerful. And I mean, let me know if you agree with it. It's fine if you don't, you know. I can't sit here and just bitch about balance indefinitely. I have to actually, you know, try and play and enjoy the game as well. But who knows, maybe we'll be back here talking about the new character before long. Maybe we'll be talking about how she's finally like a, you know, a low-tier character with a lot of fun and interesting gameplay mechanics that restores our faith in the development process of this game a little bit. One can hope. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys again very soon.